As a child, I dreamt of someday becoming a detective, solving crimes with an eye for that one obscure piece of evidence that everyone else missed out, and of course winning over the girl in the process. Every new case would introduce a new villain, along with a visit from a damsel in distress right to my office. This was the epitome of coolness to me growing up. Now, with a more mature understanding, I realize detective work isn't quite like the stories I once idolized. However, the allure of intrigue remains an element that games often strive to capture.
Noisy pixel.
Card Detective from developer Mookie Games blends noir and comic styles to immerse players in a case centering around reporter Hazel Gong. Players catch up with her as she delves into a seemingly straightforward murder case, only to uncover layers of corruption within the police and government, all linked to a group known as Vortex. The murder case presented is genuinely intriguing and unfolds in surprising ways as players progress. I spent around 4 to 5 hours playing, but as it neared the final chapters, it felt as though the storyline had plateaued and offered no real sense of closure. The adventure might have benefited from splitting the narrative into several smaller, interconnected murders instead of focusing on just one. This issue is compounded by the character naming conventions. Many characters are merely labeled with descriptors such as husband or master and apprentice, making them forgettable. Consequently, players only truly connect with Hazel and the Vortex group. Exploring smaller murders linked to the overarching theme of corporate corruption could have added depth and made the game more memorable. Reflecting on it, I can't even recall who the murder victim was, which underscores the importance of such detail in crafting a compelling murder mystery narrative. Despite these shortcomings, the underlying message is commendable. It portrays a reporter challenging a major corporation and resisting efforts to silence her truth. Hazel is the protagonist who earns the player's support, especially when facing adversity. While the story doesn't always hit its mark, the comic-style presentation is a saving grace, keeping players engaged even when the plot falters. The gameplay, however, is probably the weakest aspect of Card Detective. The basic premise involves breaking down a witness's defenses to unearth the truth, either by disproving their lies or correctly guessing the truth. This mechanic is accentuated through a card system with values and symbols representing truths and lies. The strategy involves using your cards effectively to navigate through the statements, determining which are true and which are false. There are two main deck styles: the burn down draw deck, which focuses on depleting the lie's health while drawing new cards, and the analysis draw deck, which requires more strategic guesswork. Both decks function similarly, utilizing resources and effects to maintain momentum and draw necessary cards. Initially, the burn down deck seems advantageous, but later in the game, the analysis deck becomes overwhelmingly powerful, reducing the challenge significantly. This lack of difficulty presents a major drawback in the game. Once a player fails a section, you can easily remember the arrangement of truths and lies, making subsequent attempts trivial. This predictability detracts from the desire for additional playthroughs. A comprehensive guide could easily ensure a player never fails an analysis, further diminishing the challenge. Despite these issues, the game's pacing and length prevent it from becoming overly repetitive. I hope the developers will expand upon these concepts in future titles, offering more depth and customization in card gameplay. Card Detective presents a unique blend of noir and comic book elements that will likely captivate fans of mystery and detective stories. Despite its shortcomings in character development and gameplay mechanics, the actual title offers an engaging narrative through reporter Hazel Gong's journey against corruption. The gameplay, though not without its flaws, introduces an interesting card-based mechanic that, while simple, keeps the experience enjoyable. It's an experience that doesn't necessarily invite repeated playthrough, but stands as a worthwhile experience for those seeking a narrative-driven, detective-themed adventure. Noisy Pixel is giving Card Detective a 6.5 out of 10. Thanks for watching. This video is brought to you by our supporters on Patreon. Noisy Pixel is run by a group of gamers providing independent gaming coverage through news, reviews, previews, and more. Check out our Patreon to help support our continued growth, and subscribe to keep up with all our future content.
Noisy pixel.